How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to 2A News Now, and I really appreciate you taking your time tuning into my video. Federal judge halts gun law, citing the Supreme Court Bruen decision. Well, that didn't take very long. On the very same day, a new law took effect in Colorado, prohibiting firearm sales to adults under 21 years old. A federal judge granted a preliminary injunction, halting enforcement of the new statute. In his ruling, Chief Judge Philip Brimmer rejected arguments by the state of Colorado that the phrase, "the people" in the Second Amendment does not apply to 18 to 20-year-olds. Instead, as Brimmer noted, courts across the country have found that the phrase not only covers individuals in that age range, but at least some nonviolent felons as well. Here's part of the judge's decision. The court is persuaded by the reasoning in Range and McGraw that an interpretation of the people in the Second Amendment should begin with the assumption that every American is included. In researching this conclusion, the court is careful not to read Heller or Bruen as limiting to whom the people refers. Moreover, the court finds that the governor has not shown a historical tradition of firearms regulation of 18 to 20-year-olds during the founding era, as opposed to him citing evidence supporting an argument that states could have regulated 18 to 20-year-olds because they lacked rights as minors. Thus, the court finds that the individual plaintiffs have shown a likelihood of success on the merits of the question of whether the Second Amendment applies to 18 to 20-year-olds. After determining that, Judge Brimmer next turned to the question of whether Colorado's new law, barring all firearm sales to those under 21 years old, violates the Second Amendment rights of that class of citizens. And here's part of what the judge had to say. The individual plaintiffs claim that it is settled law that constitutional rights protect closely related acts necessary to their exercise, and that purchasing firearms is necessary for keeping and bearing arms. Additionally, the individual plaintiffs argue that the total prohibition on a right is not necessary to show a right is infringed. The governor argues that the individual plaintiffs have made an insufficient showing that the right to keep arms includes a right to buy arms. Additionally, the governor argues that the individual plaintiffs have not shown that their right to self-defense is burdened because SB 23-169 has not gone into effect, and therefore the individual plaintiffs still have the ability to purchase firearms. Yes, Governor Jared Polis and his attorneys really argued that though there might be an explicit right to keep and bear arms protected by the Second Amendment, there is no right to acquire a firearm to keep and bear. Judge Brimmer pointed to a host of decisions from other courts to the contrary, finding once again that the plaintiffs are likely to succeed in their arguments at trial. Next, Judge Brimmer examined the historical record to any prohibition similar to Colorado's new law and found the governor's evidence less than compelling. Governor Polis unsuccessfully tried that Bruen's text, history, and tradition test shouldn't apply to laws involving the commercial sales of firearms. And Judge Brimmer was similarly unswayed by the governor's contention that, at the time of the Second Amendment's adoption, certain classes of people were banned from possessing firearms because of safety concerns. Judge Brimmer also took a dim view of the governor's claim that a handful of rules on 18th century college campuses barring possession of firearms for those under the age of 21 is a valid analog to Colorado's ban to gun sales to those who are under 21, arguing instead of a ban on possession on a campus is not nearly the same as a prohibition for all of those who are under 21 purchasing a firearm at retail. Ultimately, Governor Polis's arguments proved unpersuasive to Judge Brimmer, who sided with the plaintiffs and granted an injunction blocking enforcement of the statute. While the lawsuit proceeds to trial, Governor Polis will undoubtedly appeal Judge Brimmer's decision to the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals, perhaps even as early as today. But for now, Colorado adults under the age of 21 are still able to access their Second Amendment right to lawfully acquire a firearm. And hopefully that remains the case going forward. Judge Brimmer did a fantastic job enforcing the Second Amendment rights to those of people affected in Colorado and stood steadfast with the Bruen decision. And there needs to be more judges like that in our country. As always, I would really like to know your thoughts about the story in the comment section down below. And if you enjoyed this video, or if I gave you some information that you didn't know, I really would appreciate it if you could help the channel out and help it grow by liking, sharing, and subscribing and hitting those post notifications. and I invite everybody back to see my next video.